Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the Pokemon video game franchise. This series has a long and storied history and a special place in my heart as well. Pokemon is something I grew up on, playing the original Game Boy video games as a kid, and I even watched the original seasons of the cartoon back in the mid-90s. Also, I remember seeing the first Pokemon film called Pokemon the First Movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, and I saw that when it came out back in 1998. Then there was also the Pokemon card game, which of course was legendary in its own right. I remember collecting 2 or 3 foiled Charizard cards myself, thinking they were more valuable than gold to me at the time. So yeah, needless to say, I've been a bit of a Pokemon nerd over the years. Admittedly though, I lost track of the original game series around 2013, but I did play just about every entry up until then. And since then, I've certainly kept track of Pokemon too. Pokemon Go, for example, was a mobile version of the game that came out in 2016, of which I also played many hours of that summer. The summer of 2016 was also when we made our first and last video about Pokemon here on No Bullshit. If you don't remember, Pokemon Go was a bit of a phenomenon when it first came out back then. Everyone and their mother was giving it a go, so to speak. And this popularity, of course, led to more exposure and eventually more public scrutiny too. One really bogus story that we covered from the Young Turks about this really took the cake on Pokemon Go though. Back then, Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks actually had the balls to say that Pokemon Go was putting black people in danger. Ridiculous, I know, and it's really just based on the Young Turks and their social justice warrior prejudice and reverse racism. I put a link to that original video below if you want the full story and my full rebuttal. You can click on that to catch up, but for now, let's go ahead and move on to the latest controversies around Pokemon happening right now. Because much like how the Young Turks chimed in on this before, so too are some other SJWs deciding it's time for them to pass judgment on another upcoming Pokemon fad. Since Pokemon Go's wild success that started in the summer of 2016, well, Pokemon has really had a sort of renewal in popularity that's gone along with that. Pokemon Go not only brought back former fans of the series, it also brought in lots of new interest too. This resulted in Nintendo making a spin-off of Pokemon Go called Pokemon Let's Go, which came out last year on the Nintendo Switch. It received middling to modest praise and proved to be fun for some, but many more were still waiting for an official new entry to the series, which now will inevitably be coming to the Nintendo Switch console. Enter the latest entry in the Pokemon series, to be called Pokemon Sword and Shield. And I have to say, I'm pretty excited for this one, and I'm not even too invested in Pokemon anymore recently. Many more others are though, and that's why this new release that's set to come out this November, well, there's a lot of eyes on this one to say the least. And that of course brings a lot of pressure onto the project as well. And if the first bit of drama about this is any indicator, it may be a rocky road ahead for this new series called Pokemon Sword and Shield. You see, there was lots of new information coming out about this game last week at the E3 gaming conference, which we talked about in another way yesterday. And well, they had a whole section for Nintendo at that conference too, which led to lots of gameplay and announcements for the new Pokemon. Unfortunately, many fans were not too impressed with what they saw there, which led to the first controversy about this. This Destructoid article, for example, says they are excited for the game still, but the E3 for Pokemon Sword and Shield was a bit of a letdown. This is mostly because the demo was a small, one-way, unexciting gym experience. Many would have preferred to explore the open world, a new area that's to be called the Wild Area, where players can roam freely, explore, and find new Pokemon creatures to train and collect. And I myself can also see the concern here. I too was expecting a sort of Zelda Breath of the Wild type open world thing here, after Nintendo killed it with that open world game and another legendary one called Mario Odyssey. Hopefully Pokemon can pull off something like that too, but for now, we just don't know if it will yet. Next, this E3 controversy grew for Pokemon, as their new feature for the game, a so-called Dynamax ability, well, all it really does is make your Pokemon bigger for like 3 turns, which is seemingly unimpressive so far. And finally, many fans were upset that this new and improved console premiere for the long-running Pokemon franchise, well, many had hoped Sword and Shield would feature the franchise's entire 800-plus character cast. When Pokemon and Nintendo announced this wouldn't be happening, many were upset about it to say the least. And I think I understand both sides here too, but really, fans were just wishful thinking too much if you ask me. Assuming the company would make all 800 Pokemon into one game is a bit much. It would totally be cool, but I imagine the amount of CGI construction, animations, movesets, and balancing and so on, that's just too much for this project. The game would basically cost so much to make if they did all that, they couldn't even make money on this product. So them sticking to their usual limited amount of Pokemon setup does still make sense. Would be cool if they could find a way to add in more later, but I won't hold that against them too much either. Next, let's talk about this new human character for the game, which can be seen in this still from the demo. Her name is Nessa, and she's a new gym leader who wields water-type Pokemon. She's She's also the topic of the next controversy about this new game. This is the SJW-influenced, really stupid one I hinted at earlier. Apparently, Nessa has been very well received by fans so far, so much so that she's also been getting her own fan art drawn and made about her by some of her more hardcore fans. Not too big of a surprise since anime weebs love their sexy drawings and all, but also, it's worth mentioning that a lot of this attention is coming because Nessa is dark-skinned, of course. She's likely black or brown or something, and that's going to come up more again later. First though, let's look at an article from our least favorite pro-SJW gaming rag called Polgon. Their article's called All Hail Nessa, the new water-type gym leader from Pokemon Sword and Shield, with a subtitle saying, "We have decided to stan a queen." Jesus, settle down there, guy. You act like you've never seen a minority before, and quit trying so hard to treat them like they're princesses all the time. You're patronizing the minorities, dude, and girls don't like that either. Regardless, let's read on and see how cringy this shit gets. Look, I'm never so ready to end a 22-year-old relationship with a character that I grew up with, but Misty, it is time to step aside. Nessa is the new all-time master of water Pokemon. If you say so, buddy. To me though, in my opinion, Misty is a Pokemon legend. She's in the original game and the anime and everything. So me seeing some hot minority in a swimsuit in 2019 isn't going to make me just drop our girl Misty and forget about her. And let's be real here, guys. The reason this Polygon writer wants Misty to step aside is because she's white, of course. That's exactly what this coded dog whistle-like phrase means when it's coming from left-wingers. And in turn, the main reason this SJW is fawning over Ness so much is because she's brown, even though they won't ever admit this directly. They do come pretty close to saying this though in their next bit. Take a look at this part. Her character design is fire, or water. She rocks perfectly applied eyeliner and purple eyeshadow. I'm obsessed with her hoop earrings and she dons a Poke-inspired swimsuit fit for an athlete. Also, she has floaties on her sandals. Okay. Nessa also has fans excited because she is also among a growing list of Pokemon Sword and Shield character cast that are dark-skinned, along with Leon and Hop. This is important given that many Pokemon characters are often white. Why is that important though? Really? I hate it when these leftists just assume things like this, things that they like are good and important without any explanation, especially when you're writing an article for a wannabe news site. They should at least try and say some bullshit and explain this, like saying something like representation is important because yada yada yada. But instead, it's just assumed, and I really don't even know why anymore. Could be a slew of bullshit reasons, but when you get right down to it, people like this just think white characters are bad because they hate white people, and they want less white characters and more browns, of course. I mean, that's not even really an exaggeration or assertion anymore. That's literally what these SJWs say they want now. And somehow, they don't see this as offensive or racist at all. Even though, if I said the opposite, they would certainly call me a racist or a fascist or Nazi. For example, if I cheered on a character just for being white and then said it's important to have more white characters in this game, well, this Polygon writer would certainly call me a racist for that. But somehow, in his messed up mental gymnastics driven by a left-wing world, well, being anti-white is okay, according to these whack jobs. Hell, it's encouraged even. Next, the Polygon article goes on to gush over some fan art made of Nessa online, which, quite frankly, I find a little creepy sometimes. It's all for fun though, and some of the drawings are actually pretty impressive. And this is what leads to the final part of these Pokemon controversies too. You see, there was lots of fan art going around about Nessa this week, and a few of the drawings actually sparked a controversy of their own. Specifically, one Japanese artist was attacked viciously, all for making Nessa the wrong shade of a color, according to some SJWs. For more details, let's turn to an article from Bounding Into Comics called Japanese Artist Najuko Harassed and Accused of Racism Due to Fan Art of Pokemon's Nessa. Check this bullshit out. A Japanese fan artist has been subjected to harassment and accusations of racism due to a lighting choice on a drawing of the recently announced Pokemon character Nessa, which slightly lightened the tone of her skin color. On June 13th, artist Najuku shared an image they had drawn of the Pokemon Sword and Shield water-type gym leader to their personal Twitter page. For the drawing, Najuku chose a softer, muted palette choice for Nessa, resulting in a stylistic and colorful piece, which deviated slightly from the colors displayed in her official artworks. Well, this all looks fine to me. Just a lighter shade on the already light brown skinned Nessa. Apparently, SJWs don't understand colors, drawings, lighting, and art, because if they're going to call this racist, well, that's just crazy. The image quickly gained traction among Najuku's almost 60,000 Twitter followers, and once the piece was fully circulating across social media, Najuku's post was quickly descended upon by users accusing Najuku of whitewashing and racism. Then there's a couple of tweets saying things like, "Nessa is a brown girl, please make sure your art reflects that," frowny face. And also, "This would be cute if you got her skin tone correct. Whitewashing is ugly." Wow, just wow. Now we're talking about whitewashing of a fan art picture drawn based on a character from a Nintendo video game. We have clearly reached peak wokeness here, guys. This is 2019 and current year here in a nutshell, make no mistake. Anti-white racism being slung at people who accidentally pissed off the social justice warrior PC police. What a goddamn joke. In the end, clearly this artist isn't racist, and they've done nothing offensive or wrong. Really, the SJWs have just shown their true colors here. They want things to be darker and, of course, less white, because they hate white people and want less of us around, at least in public places and in popular things, like video games, movies, TV shows, etc. This is also another glowing example of the leftists trying to invade and take over popular spaces. Most of these whiners probably never liked or played Pokemon a day in their life before this, but when they saw other people really liked it and how popular and talked about Pokemon is, that's when the liberals decided to pounce and make their moves to take over and make everything all politically correct and stupid once again. What do you guys think? Are these Pokemon controversies really legitimate? Are you a fan of the series, and will you be playing the new game in November? And what do you think about the supposed whitewashing of the Nessa character? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.